Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy CVTech1 coming at you live and direct with another reaction video. And we are going to watch a Formula 1 explained for rookies, which is this guy. The only thing I know about Formula 1 racing is that you have to do one practice race, a qualifying race for time to see where you position to start the race. It's the only thing I know. And the only reason I know that is because I play F1 on the Xbox. And the reason that I play it is because it looks great on a 4K TV. And the F1 game on Xbox has Hamilton on the cover. And that's all I know about F1. I don't even know if F1 is huge here in the United States. I know NASCAR is, but I don't even know if F1 is. I always thought F1 was like an overseas type of thing. I'm a rookie, so let's watch this video and see what we can learn and see if this is something that we can get into.
What will happen over the course of the next 66 laps? Max Verstappen is
Making sure everything's good.
off the world.
You've been hearing about F1 too, right? Cool, let's talk about it.
Formula One racing into Miami for the first
The
time.
hottest ticket in town.
Hooked on Drive to Survive.
In Miami.
Drive to Survive.
This is a car race at over 200 miles an hour.
I never knew that. In Miami.
Miami Grand Prix, Bahrain Grand Prix, here in Monaco.
With insanely famous drivers.
Ricciardo.
See, I know Hamilton.
100-person teams. Racing cars so advanced that they're practically spaceships. And so expensive that they had to make a rule that teams couldn't spend more than $140 million.
The team have a cap, a limit? That's crazy because they do that in basketball.
And it's only getting bigger. Just look at this. This is from a construction camera at one of two new US racetracks. This one's in Miami. This cost $40 million to build. And
Okay.
it hosted nearly 250,000 people over 3
How
days.
new is it
That's
though?
Super Bowl
I never heard of this.
every day. And one of them was me.
It's the first ever Miami Grand Prix. We're racing in the States and it's lights out, away we go.
Beckham,
I just
Brady.
love F1. But a lot of people, because of all this hype, they're hearing about it right now. For the
F1
first
racing
time,
is
and
big
they're
like
feeling
that?
A little bit,
I don't understand.
So let's get into it. This
I
is
don't.
F1 explained for rookies. What you need to know to keep up with this crazy, expensive sport that everyone's suddenly obsessed with.
Lewis Hamilton!
Verstappen holds it!
It's done.
But it's also a look at the bigger question here, the huge
Whoa.
question, which is, why do this? Like, why pour so much money, so much technological effort into F1?
They gotta be making that back.
The answer is in what we get in return. This isn't just a car race. This is a space program for the road.
General growth in interest.
What?
F1's becoming much more of a thing here in the States.
Monaco Grand Prix.
To me, it's just a race car
Prix.
driving with a faster car. But if the limit is 140 million
To F1,
per
I
car,
know it's American cousins. NASCAR has the least family resemblance. Closed cockpits, oval tracks.
yeah.
IndyCar and F1 look more related. They've got the spaghetti-looking track,
Indy and Formula 1 is two different things? I figured they would be the same.
open cockpits. But there's one really important difference between these two. And it's the reason why F1 specifically is such a big deal. In IndyCar, all of the cars use the same frame, or chassis, the DW12. So the competition here is mostly in how you race that car. But in F1, every team has to design and manufacture their own cars. And the best part is that they get to improve the cars between each race, or not, depending.
Wait. I don't know if I like that though. I'm just shooting from the hips, but the IndyCar, they use, I guess what you can call it, a chassis, right? They all use the same chassis. To me, that's an even playing field. And it comes down to how good the driver is in your cockpit, I'm assuming. But F1, you can go to any car company that you want and have your car built that way. Well, what if this team has a lot of money? Then what? And if you don't have money, it doesn't matter how good you drive? I don't know if I like that. It's kind of like the politics thing. It's like if you don't raise enough money, good luck. You're not gonna make appearance. You won't have enough money to promote. Yeah, I don't know if I like that.
So the competition in F1 actually centers around the car itself, not just how you race it, but also how you build it.
Yeah, but it's
and
money.
rebuild it again and again and again. This is why I love F1. It looks like the sport of daredevils, but much more than that.
Yeah, I like competition, but I don't. If you don't have the money,
It's two cars, so two drivers for the same team. Each event, or Grand Prix, is 3 days: practice, qualifying, and race day. I watch these on TV every time they're on, but this was the first
I know
time
that
I
because
ever got
I
to see
played
it.
on Xbox.
See the car up close? That was awesome.
But why two drivers? Just in case somebody gets injured?
I have never had more fun at a sporting event and seen less of what was actually going on.
And do they both drive?
Here's how this works. The order of who does the fastest lap on qualifying day becomes the lineup at the starting line on race day.
Okay.
And passing isn't easy, so where you start is a really big deal. Depending on where drivers finish, they get different numbers of points. After 10th place, no points for you.
No for you.
Drivers want to get the most points themselves to win something called the Drivers' Championship. But teams want to get the most points total to win the Constructors' Championship. The two championship thing actually kind of makes for funny mismatched incentives sometimes. You can hear it on the radio.
I like the team stuff.
They want to let drivers pass each other, and drivers get really mad.
I mean, you gotta have a big team to back you up with the money that you might need.
If he's quicker, we let 3. That's very unfair, but okay.
But generally, everybody agrees about the big thing. Pass each other, and drivers get really mad about that.
If he's quicker,
Why?
That's very unfair, but okay.
But generally, everybody agrees about the big things, which are drivers, race your fastest. Teams, make the best car. All right, here's the fun part.
I'm still not sold on.
Lego is here. Hey.
If I don't have a good team with a lot of money, then
Driver, hello, Lewis Hamilton. Think of an F1 car like an airplane upside down.
what?
Both meant to move as quickly through the air as possible, right? But where an airplane's wings work to lift it up, these cars' wings work to keep it down. Why? Because winning doesn't just depend on going fast. It also depends on keeping control.
Makes sense.
And that requires a firm grip on the ground. Take a look at the shape of this car. Now watch how the air moves across it. See how some goes above the wing and some squeezes
Wow.
the long way underneath it?
I never thought about Formula One cars being this advanced as far as like what do you compare it to like an aircraft and how the dynamic of their like airflows and all that. Like I never thought about airflow when it comes to F1 cars. I'm just like, go fast, don't crash. This is crazy.
That creates a situation where there's higher pressure above and lower pressure below, sucking the car toward the ground. That's actually happening all over the car, not just on the wings. And we could talk for hours about the design features on this thing, how they shape and use
Whoa.
the air. Some pull air in through the car to cool it down. You can actually see there's a hole there. I think they're trying to imply that on my Lego model. Some actually let the driver release air, lessening that downward pressure and allowing them to go faster in order to
DRS.
pass. Kind of like a Mario boost.
That's
You can actually see
crazy.
this in a race. Listen for DRS here.
Now, Charles Leclerc is going to have DRS to try and fight it back.
Taken together, an F1 car is just a symphony of aerodynamics.
Bro, can you imagine like the blueprint of this car? It's got to be like top-notch security type of thing. Like you can't just leave the blueprint just laying around because like she says, some cars will take the air and that air will cool off the car. So I'm assuming other cars are designed differently because, you know, they're all about money. They're not all teams are using the same chassis.
I actually got to see them.
So now that's sounding kind of cool.
We're going there.
But it's still kind of weird. It's like, you know, you got Jordan backing you up and Mercedes.
Perfecting these cars over the years, understanding the need for wings and adding them and changing the shape and pushing our understanding of aerodynamics to shave off just fractions of a second. Hundreds, sometimes thousands of people work on this, all for
Feels
one
like the
team.
car
So,
is more important than the driver sometimes,
What
right?
does this cost?
150?
F1 teams don't really want to share the details here, so there's a lot of speculation. But they're also companies, and some of them have to file their financials somewhere. So with a little bit of research into various European countries' reporting requirements, hold on.
Are they not paying taxes on these?
Dun, dun, dun,
On these
dun.
cars?
Here they are. Annual reports for every F1 team I could find, which is actually 8 out of 10, so I'm feeling pretty good about it.
8 out of
As
10.
a fan,
Why?
this is kind of cool. Like, look, this is Toto Wolff's signature. What I learned from all this is that running an F1 team costs anywhere from $95 million to $425 million.
Ooh, that's a lot of money.
But the year after these were filed, F1 instituted a new rule saying all teams were only allowed to spend $140 million. So these reports are going to look a lot different for this next coming year.
Oh, good.
Still a lot. No matter what,
Okay.
F1 teams spend a ton of money.
I mean, you still got to pay people that works on it, the mechanics and all that stuff. That's not just, I think that money is just for the car itself. Okay, so having a cap on that is actually pretty good, because if a team got so much money, then there's no telling how fast that car can be, you know? So that's what I was saying. So with the cap, I like that.
So what do they make? These reports show that F1 teams make approximately nothing.
Huh?
They run surprisingly close to break even. Red Bull, for example, made $230 million in revenue, and then add these two up, $229 million in costs, and they ended up with approximately $1.2 million in profit. This is in pounds, actually.
So this is almost like, this is advertisement,
Wildly profitable enterprises, I was imagining.
if you ask me.
So why do they do it? Well, take a look at this.
It's advertisement.
This is the Ferrari annual report. Our brand image depends in part on the success of our Formula One racing team. The racing team is a key component of our marketing strategy. It's
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
They use F1 to sell other stuff, whether that's luxury sports cars or a sports drink.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Makes sense.
As entertainment, F1 is incredible. But a lot of people do feel that it's somewhat wasteful.
How much does a Formula One car cost?
400 million.
Is it worth all that money? This is bigger than F1. It's kind of crazy to think about how much work we as a
But
species
why-
put into entertaining ourselves.
Why aren't they making the money back though? Is it because they're spending so much? No, that can't be it. I mean, is it not enough people? Advertisement? Why isn't it making money? Granted, they're doing it for advertisement, so they don't really care that much. I get it, but people are just not following the sport, maybe? Or I don't know.
For some people is the technology element here. All of this engineering work and all of this energy being spent on 20 fossil fuel reliant cars makes people wonder sometimes if that energy might be better spent elsewhere.
Like literally anywhere else.
Electric cars? How about that?
But F1 is more than
That'd be
just
boring.
entertainment. It's better thought of actually as one giant experiment. F1 pushes everything to the extreme. What do you need to create to compete at this level, to keep control at these speeds, to keep the driver safe in these conditions? The
Whoa.
idea is that the technology that they build
See that
ends
guy?
up trickling down to all of us non-race car drivers.
Ah,
My question was,
okay.
is this actually true, or does it just sound good?
This is like working at NASA, man.
Specific car parts that were developed for F1 and then ended up in my car. But the more research I did, the more complicated it got. People often talk about paddle shifters, for example, but those were actually developed decades before F1. F1 teams just made them better. Same for active suspension, anti-lock brakes, traction control. What I found was that F1 was less trickle-down and more flywheel. F1 combines technologies that might already exist and then pushes them to an extreme, making them better in the process and then inspiring, or literally manufacturing, better tech for all of us. For example, take thermal efficiency, the percentage of energy from combustion that actually makes the car go, as opposed to being lost to heat. Most combustion road cars have a thermal efficiency between 20 and 30%, which means only a third of the energy actually makes the car go. F1 cars can't refuel during the race, so there's a very strong incentive for them to be efficient. They're at about 50% now, thanks to new hybrid engines.
That's-
gains that have been dragging
pretty
the rest of
good.
the car industry forward.
Wow.
Data collection. Sensors on F1 cars collect huge amounts of information and then feed it back to the driver and the team. They didn't invent a lot of these systems, but they use.
Bro, this is literally some NASA type of work, man. Like, this is crazy. This is more than just race. I can see where people get into it, where, you know, the geeks will look at the car and, you know, all they care about is the spec of the car. Can you imagine like two different teams, right? Engineers just talking to each other about the cars? Like, dude, they'll have a field day just having a simple conversation. But look, all of those stickers, man. You're not getting paid for all of that stuff? Like, what's going on?
Use them in ways that they've never been used before. And that's actually getting more and more important as we move potentially towards self-driving cars. This is the real promise.
This is
of F1,
way
and
different
it
than
all
I
stems
thought.
from that original requirement to build their own cars.
I like it, though.
Basically, will We'll do all of this research and development, and we'll create new technologies and also combine all of the cutting edge tech, and we'll push it to its limits and develop it further, and you don't even need to pay for it. We'll race these things against other groups of engineers doing exactly the same.
Yeah, we're just trying it out.
In this crazy round the world sport that
Never thought about it that way.
that is actually, at the end of the day, the biggest, most expensive group project science competition of all time.
That is so true.
People debate
$140,
whether or not to spend
I mean,
money on
140
software
million.
to learn. And yet, they consistently push forward both the tech that we actually use and our understanding of the world around us. In this case, it also makes some money, and it's fun to watch. I think once you see the promise of F1, it allows you to think differently about lots of things. We need people working far beyond the edge, like pulling forward the limits of what we can do. The question now is, what do we need to learn next?
I don't know, man. I do find it intriguing, though. Like all that tech that goes into it. Forget the race itself. Just the tech that goes into these cars is not something I even questioned at all.
If F1 pushes forward car innovation and the future of cars is
Electric?
Does F1
Bro.
get more electric too?
That would be...
And if F1 doesn't go more electric, does it get farther and farther from its original promise over time? Less applicable to the technology that we use and more a novelty. Oh, let's go watch those cars that use gas. I don't know. Now you're up to speed. You can watch a race, you can enjoy it with your friends, and you can also speculate, like the rest of us, where it's all gonna go. I'll be watching with you, and I'll be rooting for my favorite team.
Hey, man, that was pretty cool video, man. This was more than a race. This was a science class. In a way, I definitely will look at this sport a little bit differently than I did before. When I play the game on Xbox, I just race. I'm really just trying to win, and I never thought about what goes into these cars. This was a science class, man. I actually enjoyed it. So now I definitely want to watch a race. The cool thing about watching a race now, I'm gonna have those thoughts in my head, you know, especially where the flap on the back of the car, where it goes up and lets the, what do they call it, the boost. I'll look for stuff like that now. And I actually do want to see a race. I want to see how fast they go. I want to see how these drivers drives these car and keep control. That is hard to do because you're making something that goes really fast, but at the same time, keep control, because these things could just take off. So yeah, that was a cool video, man. If you guys got any more videos that I should watch when it comes to racing, because I'm not familiar with racing at all, put in the comment section below. We'll check it out, man. Appreciate y'all. Peace.